I almost thought mine was going to explode for a second.
Yeah, I was like, foam everywhere.
That was almost really bad because we're sitting on a couch right now. This one's going to be good.
About to get into some sauce.
We finally have seen everything. Well, 90+% of the groups that matter. Is that offensive?
It is offensive, but it's accurate. I mean,
from a competitive standpoint, the groups at the top.
If you ask me how many independent AOS Classic A shows I've seen, the answer is 0. But
true. We did make a point to watch some Independent Open, though.
Yeah, and I did watch some Scholastic Open, although I don't remember a thing about it.
I did not. I had stuff going on that day. Could not catch it. So
it'd also be interesting because we both watched it at different times.
Correct.
So we have 2 different days to reference.
This episode is going to be all about the Power Regional weekend. You had the West Coast Regional, where all the big Cali groups were there. Then you had the
Mid-East Regional or something.
Whatever they're calling it. It was in Northern Kentucky.
Yeah.
At Northern Kentucky University, where like Mystique, X, I think that was the only 2 other groups were there, and we'll talk about other groups as well.
We'll
But of the big 5, those were the 2 there, and then you had Pulse, RCC, and Broken City at the Western one in Cali. Where in California was that? I didn't pay attention to where it was. Somewhere in that massive state.
Somewhere where it was a lot warmer than it was here.
So we're going to dive right in to all of the things we liked, things we didn't like, opinions, predictions for finals week. Now that we've seen all the big 5 and a lot of other things, we have some predictions to go over and why we think various things. But before we get into that, welcome everyone to the Aged Out podcast with Mike Fantini and
Evan Worrell.
That's a weird way to say your last name.
Yeah, well, my last name's Worrell.
So I had to do something different with it?
Yeah, you give a little influx. Worrell.
You know, all right, whatever.
So it's not like very squared off like Fantini.
It's true. My name's very angular.
It's very round.
My name's very angular. All right, this is getting stupid. Before we continue any further, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us and like us on Facebook. Find us on Instagram. Everything is just Aged Out Podcast, so search for that on the various platforms, and we'll be the first thing that comes up. So yeah, let's do Independent Open first.
Okay.
All right, well, let's explain how we viewed all this real quick. I'll go over that real fast. So we have a Flow Marching account. We couldn't get together the weekend of the regional.
No, and we had decided, too, that we weren't going to go to actually watch the regional in Northern Kentucky, even though it wasn't very far away.
It's an hour from my house, so I could have gone easily. But we already saw Mystique and X live in Indy.
Yeah.
So we decided we needed to see the California groups.
So we wanted to make sure we caught that, so we just watched everybody on the stream. And I watched from my house on Saturday, and then you watched from your house on Sunday.
The original plan was to be at the same place and talk about it and then record the podcast right after. But just logistically it didn't work out. So we decided to share the key for the log on, watch everything. Both of us took notes. Let's dive in.
Yeah.
Open class.
Independent Open. I did see some of the Scholastic Open, but good for those kids.
There's only one Scholastic group that we're going to talk about, really, and we'll get to them later.
Yeah. No, I'll talk about some of the other ones. But anyway, Independent Open. So at that show, there was, I think, like Freedom, Tate's Creek Indoor, Innovate, and Connexus. There may have been another one.
I can tell you right now, and from my handy-dandy notes here, we had Motor City, Freedom, Connexus, and Innovate.
Yeah.
Were the 4 open groups in Northern Kentucky.
And what we've said all, I guess, season or preparation of the season, too, about
every
open
time
class
we talk about WGI
is just like, in open class, less is more. Like, just play clean.
The one thing I will point out, Tate's Creek was there, too.
Yeah, Tate's Creek was there. They were kind of there.
Yeah, they were there. So, one thing I saw that I did like, I made a note of how big the batteries were for every group I watched. And outside of Innovate, the first 3 open groups that I saw, Connexus, Freedom, and Motor City, have 7 snares. And I've been singing forever the concept of cut 1 or 2 people and be way better.
Yeah, especially in open class, because generally, I would say in the open class, those groups aren't getting, obviously, the talent draw that world groups are getting, and you're dealing with the talent that you have in your region. Just less is more, baby. Like, don't have too many kids on the floor, too many hands to clean, too many feet to clean. Too many brains to try to get to operate the same way.
Yep. And the two groups I really want to talk about from Independent Open from that regional are Connexus and Innovate. Innovate got first at that regional, and Connexus got second, right?
Yeah. Innovate hasn't lost.
They have not lost any show.
No, they're looking pretty strong.
They're gonna medal. I would say they are gonna win Open this year, but I haven't seen all the California Open groups. There's always a few strong ones out there.
There was a couple that were out there that were pretty good, and I'm sure there'll probably be a couple from Texas. And I know Spirit from the Northeast that I think like all those cadets dudes are Open class that like Ian and them work with, or they'll be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be a few come, but I think Innovate is a strong front runner to either win and for sure medal.
Well, I want to talk about their show specifically because it's almost an example of how to do it. The pacing is great. There's highs, there's lows, soft moments, loud moments. It just all flows together really well, and it reads really well as an audience member. I remember throughout watching finals on Sunday, I texted Evan at multiple times and moments, like, "What do you think of this group's show? I don't get it."
Yeah.
Like, he was like, "That's part of being readable," and I was like, "All right, well, no one I've seen so far has a show that I got as an audience member with no previous knowledge," and I'm assuming that's the goal as a designer, to produce a product that someone that hasn't had anyone talk to them ahead of time, they can hear the show title, watch it, and they get it.
Yeah,
they get what you're trying to do.
Your judges that see you on finals week, I mean, it's probably going to be their first read. It's not like you get a critique before the show to explain what you're doing.
Okay, so...
And even if they don't, those people that have maybe seen your show have probably at that point in the season judged X number of shows. They don't remember. So they still need to be able to understand it from the get-go.
And Innovate show's called Time Bomb, and I got it the whole time.
There
you go. That was completely unintentional, actually. They played very dynamically. Now, granted, they have 8 bass drums. I actually made a note here, like the bass unisons weren't super good all the time, but it's basically a snare line turned sideways.
They're fluffy.
Yeah, because there's 8 of them. There's a reason most bass lines have 5. The snare feature was nails on Sunday, and I actually wrote at the end of my notes here 100% going to medal.
Yeah.
And in my brain, I think they're going to win just because the show is a world-class show, in my opinion.
Yeah. I would say from a design standpoint, probably not from an arranging and execution.
The
execution is high, but like the arranging is not.
That's what I meant. Yeah. The show from a design standpoint, Dave Isaacs helps run, basically I think does all the designing himself, probably with input from others, but he's done a phenomenal job. The show is very, very good, and it would not surprise me as they continue to cultivate talent in that region, because it's kind of an untapped market. They're
on the border of Kentucky, Indiana.
Yeah, it's kind of like an untapped thing. There's a lot of good Indiana programs in Southern Indiana that are pretty solid, produce some good kids from time to time. If he can keep growing it would not surprise me to see them make the jump to world class in the next couple of years.
Yeah, hopefully they just take their time and enjoy.
Yes,
success.
Don't do it too soon.
There's other groups that have done that and
win a few medals.
It's not worked out so pretty.
Yeah, you see it all the time. I mean, so I don't really have anything else to say about Open right now.
Well, I was just gonna say to touch on what you said about what they were doing dynamically, and I think that's such an important thing to hit the spectrum. A lot of those groups just play loud or above mezzo forte or 6 inches or whatever you want to call it, like the whole time. It's like, give me the soft moments, suck me in, make me have to like lean forward to hear what's going on.
Yeah.
And then that makes that impact stuff that much more effective, and they did a good job of that. So.
Yep.
Yeah,
good there?
that's pretty much Open class in a nutshell.
Yeah.
One group.
I mean, from what we've seen, we can't make stark predictions. There's a lot more independent Open groups than I thought there were.
There's like, I forget how many signed up for finals. It's like, I want to say like 30.
There's a lot of independent Open groups.
Man, it's going to be tough because a lot of people get lost in the shuffle trying to like put 30 groups in order. Mm-hmm. I did not envy that judging job.
No, not at all. Not at all. So let's move on to some world class. Do you want to do Scholastic World first, or do you want to do them last?
I'll do them last.
Okay, we'll end on that note. So, Independent World, we'll start with the Kentucky Regional first, and then we'll bounce to the West Coast.
All right, you can go in order, I guess, because you probably saw them in order of finish, and yes. I saw them in just like a random order on prelims.
Yeah, so Equinox, I thought their snare line was good. The show's called Harvest. I mean, it's I don't remember where they're from. They played fine.
How'd you pronounce it? I'm just curious.
Equinox.
I pronounce it Equinox. I'm not really sure what's right.
I can't say
Tomato,
it's
tomato.
Is it a geographic thing? But we live like an hour apart.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter.
So Gateway is the next group. Gateway is one of those groups that
I will say, before we jump through, I guess super fast. So you said Equinox, whatever it is, EQ. The only thing we both made notes. The only thing I wrote down was marimba hand-to-hand split was cool. That's all. I guess they didn't.
I forgot about that. That was really cool. I
didn't remember much else from that show.
Well, the snare line was what stuck out to me, and I do remember that now. They have a moment in their show where I think it is just two marimba players.
Yeah, I think it's just two. They're doing like a run up the keyboard, but they're splitting the hand-to-hand, and I was like, that's pretty sweet.
Like how the top two bass drums will split hand-to-hands, and it's like they did it on marimbas.
It was rhythmically even. I was impressed.
Yeah,
so.
it was a very, very cool thing to see because I'd never seen a front ensemble do that before. So that was kudos to them for pulling that off. Gateway is a group that it's always confused me.
Confused you how?
Elaborate.
I
know. I'm collecting my thoughts here for a second. They've had many highs and lows throughout the years, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They've had years where they'll be really good. They can't seem to find a level of consistency, and I don't know if that's a result of the feeder programs and the high schools and everything around them. They're in St. Louis, and they have a monopoly on that whole area. They're it.
I think it's more indicative of the people that maybe teach there / design there, and like they've had a flux. Like
Wasn't Mac there for a while?
Mac was there for a while, and they were having a great deal of success. I don't think he's been there the past couple years. At least that's what I believe. And what I wrote there at the end was missing Mac badly because the design is just not.
To me, some of the stuff, the show. I missed the name of their show somehow. It's the only one I missed, so whatever. But some notes. Their battery 8 snares. That's a theme we'll see recurring. Snare lines are smaller this year than on average.
Good.
You've seen a lot more 8-mans, and there's even a 7-man we'll talk about later in Independent World. But they're going smaller. I mean,
I don't know why you wouldn't. Why fight it? I mean, yeah, you and I were in a 10-man, and it worked
the stars
out,
have to align to go 9 or 10, in my opinion.
It's so risky.
The stars have to align to
You're
go 9 or 10.
You're basically fighting an uphill battle the whole time.
You are. You're definitely just fighting an uphill battle, and I don't know if it just happens to be coincidence or they made a conscious effort to go 8 or the talent. Whatever it was, I'm happy to see it.
Their show was so boring.
I have that. I didn't put it that bluntly. I wrote down show very flat.
I said that. Well, what I wrote was slow pacing. Felt like they didn't have any energy.
Yeah, it felt like it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
it was just kind of there. There was one really cool moment though. You remember those old sneakers where the rollies where you could roll around?
Yeah,
they have those
like skaters or whatever.
Yes.
Oh, really?
At one point, a few members of the snare line or the whole snare line. Like, they roll up to the front of the floor like their feet are at angles, and they're like, holy crap, those are those shoes. And that was really funny. I don't know why. It's a good idea. You could use that really well in an indoor show.
Good for them. Well,
I thought that was cool.
I have seen one person do that once before, but it was a long time ago.
I said a second ago that Gateway kind of has a monopoly on the talent in St. Louis. That's wrong. Freedom is an independent open group that's out of St. Louis. And I actually just saw a note here. Freedom and Gateway need to merge.
Isn't there another... What's the other independent world group? Legacy? Where are they at? Was that Indiana?
That's Indiana.
Okay.
I don't know where in Indiana, but that's in Indiana.
Maybe Indianapolis?
Something like that, maybe. But, yeah, merge.
Freedom, yeah.
I'm sure Freedom has some members.
Freedom actually plays well in Independent Open.
They do. I'm sure they have some members that could play well enough to be in Gateway.
I wonder how far geographically they are. That's kind of exciting.
I mean, if they're both in St. Louis, I can't be that far.
St. Louis is a decent state.
I know. I mean, my dad's family's from there, so I've been there many times. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't feel like it would be more than 20 minutes apart, 30 minutes apart, rehearsing on the weekends. Yeah. Whatever. They need to merge.
Anyway, consolidate.
Yep. Put all your eggs in one basket.
Like all the groups in Michigan.
All right, let's go on to Cavi's Indoor. They have a really cool rotating quad feature.
It's a cool idea. It's just not executed well yet.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was bad on Sunday, too.
I just feel like whenever I hear the word Cavaliers or Cavies, I'm just expecting to hear a rockin' front ensemble.
Well, yeah, because the Cavies pit every summer is phenomenal.
And it just... Obviously, there's not always a direct correlation between like these indoor groups and outdoor groups that all the people that are in this group or in that group or in that sort of thing.
They had Blue Knights indoor forever.
Yeah, but those things aren't even the same anymore.
Not even, no.
But, like, I just had this, like, stigma, I guess, going into it, and I was just like, man, this is not what I want it to be. And they played really dirty rolls, what I wrote down.
I actually wrote down they were dirty at finals, and they only had 7 on the floor, but they had a hole. They typically have 8 in the snare line. One other thing I will say about them, though, when they came out, they've only been around for like 4 or 5 seasons at this point, isn't it?
No.
Cavies indoor?
They were in... I remember very specifically they had an indoor group when I was marching. Maybe they weren't in world class.
They were not. That's what I'm getting at.
But
I feel like they've been on a slow upward trajectory over the past 10 years, we'll say.
They haven't been around that long, I don't think. But, yeah, okay. I'm following
Whatever it is. I will say, I think they're on an upward trajectory.
I think they were better the last couple years than they are this year.
I mean, everyone's going to have a down year. Rhythm X has down years.
No, you can never go backwards.
Yeah, well, Rhythm X has had multiple down years. 06, 11, 12, 16.
Did you say 6?
16. 07, sorry.
The Velvet Rope.
The Velvet Rope. So 7,
that was
11,
because they spent
12.
half the season in Europe.
Partying. I didn't say that.
No, they were partying.
Okay. Evan said it.
Yeah.
16 was a bad show. What was the Doors? Was that 15 or 14?
The one door opens?
13 was Man in the Arena. 14 was the Jagged
15 was
Edge.
When one door opens when they were like 11 snares.
That was a bad show, too.
I don't think that was a bad
though.
show. They just were
second.
so big.
I don't have fond memories of that show, but whatever. All right, so Atlanta Quest.
All right.
They're being hurt. Now we're getting into some more of the meat and potatoes here. Atlanta Quest has definitely started to play a lot better in recent years.
Yeah, I wrote down good low-end quality.
Yes, they impressed me a lot when they played low. All their inner beat stuff, the lower, softer moments. The touch was very good.
I did put that they need white carriers because it kills their uniform.
Yeah,
it just bugged me so bad that they have these white or off-white, whatever color it is, uniforms, and these black carriers. I'm like, what's the point of even getting a white uniform?
Spray paint them, boys.
You gotta, put contact paper, spray paint them, put something over it.
Yeah.
And visually, I was just like, man, it just looks so gray, like looking at this white uniform and this black carrier. But anyway.
Well, they opened the show with an awesome opening statement. It was great. There's a moment early where the snares are at the front of the tarp, and they have a gut roll, like an edge moment, that was phenomenal on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the battery starts playing more, and you realize that the show is kind of designed around the snare line, and you can tell there's way fewer moments where you notice the basses and quads. And typically when that happens, it's intentional. That happened at X in 2012.
Well, I did put on mine, bass. So I guess they hit the bass feature on Saturday. I also put that I like that they don't end every phrase with a freaking rim shot.
That is
because I feel like that's
air.
An epidemic
of
indoor. Like, oh my gosh, snare phrase, got shot, and I was like, no. And so I felt like I noticed that with them, that not every phrase ended with a damn rim shot.
It was very apparent, very early on in their performance, that we had entered the next tier of independent world.
Who was the group before them? Cavies?
Yeah, it was clearly a step up, and we're in like that upper tier of independent world at this point, from a playing quality standpoint, from a arranging standpoint, show design. I wasn't a fan of the show, and it's called Fly to Paradise, and it made sense, but it was just kind of lame to me.
Fair enough.
I just wasn't buying it. And I think that's going to hurt them. There wasn't a whole lot of GE. Like, there were moments that really, really, you felt them, like you got it. And the show made sense, which is going to help them. But I think it's going to hold them back. I think they're outplaying their show.
Yeah. Okay. I can agree with that. I put the pit was not super prevalent in that show. Marimba Run, Muddy. So for me to pick up on that, because obviously that's not what I gear towards.
Yeah.
Is like maybe like you said, the pit's not super prevalent because it's not as strong as the battery.
I think the word you're looking for is prevalent.
Yeah, prevalent. That's what I wrote, but I might not be saying it correctly. Prevalent.
Prevalent? That's not a word. That's not a word. Maybe it is it?
Hush, hush, hush. Boobity bobbity.
Hey now.
Peter, you're not a
Those are my people.
All right.
Quit that.
All right. Anyway, so that was my side note.
Yeah, Atlantic Quest, really good snare line. And they've had a good snare line the last couple of years, too. It hasn't just been this year. TJ Chocolat has been doing a good job.
Although they do play like 15-minute long warm-up exercises. And I'm just like, man, how do these kids memorize these long warm-up exercises?
There was a group I purposefully didn't go audition for my Age Out Summer because of their exercise packet.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not going to say where, but like...
What was your age out?
12.
Wait, for indoor or
outdoor? I purposefully didn't... I ended up, like, one of the deciding factors was I didn't want to learn the packet. And the group I ended up going to, the Bluecoats, the packet was, like, short, sweet, to the point. I was like, all right, there we go.
That was at Crown?
Yeah.
They had a long warm-up packet?
Hell yeah. In 2012, it was long.
Oh my gosh, we didn't have that.
I still have it in a desk drawer in my house, I think.
Oh my gosh.
It was very complicated, and it was a turnoff. But I was just kind of lazy at that point because we're the Mex for 2 years.
You didn't want to learn 7/8 spree or something like that? What did they play?
7 is Heaven?
7 is Heaven?
7, whatever that thing was.
Which is a cool cadence,
Sorry, Josh
Ricky, but...
It's very cool. I just didn't want to learn it.
Yeah.
2 years of Rhythm X made me super lazy at that point. I just wanted to drum. All right, so Cap City beat Atlantic Quest.
They did. Rightfully so.
Again, an example of a group writing to their talent level. Less is more. Solid fundamental base in their warm-up packet and all of it.
The show is readable. And I heard it was about the movie Arrival. That's what it's based off of.
I mean...
Which makes sense.
The show makes sense from start to finish.
And it's cool.
It's a cool idea. It's called When Two Worlds Collide. Now, not only is that title self-explanatory, it's probably going to be some people arriving in some place with another group and they're going to clash. What do you know?
Yeah, like if I were to see that in my head, like just written on paper, When Two Worlds Collide, I would think about two cultures colliding or two something.
It goes back to the idea, designers try to get too abstract with these indoor shows. Look at all of Rhythm X's best shows. Gone, Touch, Man in the Arena. Such simple ideas that are extremely easy to convey. Look at Mystique 2011, Mantra.
Yeah.
It was simple. It was straightforward. It made obvious sense what was happening and unfolding in front of you.
One-word titles, even like Bluecoats. Tilt. All they did was show a bunch of tilted crap.
Tilted stuff.
Tilt my instruments. Tilt my snare.
And it was GE out the butt. Like, it's just...
There's ramps.
Stop trying to do too much. Like, pick a simple idea and run with it. And that's what Cap City's done. They wrote to their talent. They play fundamentally well. They have a good blended full battery sound. The front ensemble's good. And it's paying off. You know where Atlantic Quest finished last year at finals?
No.
It was probably top 10, top 12. They usually are.
Probably.
And Cap City beat them.
Yeah.
Like,
Cap City was like squeaked in the finals last year, I think.
So squeaked in.
Yeah.
And now they're beating a group that usually finishes top 10, I think.
Yeah.
So
because they play well.
It's paying off.
Their show makes sense.
It's paying off.
It's easy to
Simple.
follow. Their battery sound is glorious. It's so warm and buttery.
That's a good way to put it. It's very smooth.
Just like take a nap in those notes. That's a quote.
Drum tuning is good.
Yeah, drum tuning is good.
All right.
Dean was like, "You don't think those snares are too high?" I'm like, "No, dude, it's
Dean,
good.
Shut up.
It's
they
fine.
sound good. Let Zach keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. All right. United. This is another group like Gateway. Well, no, I can figure out United. They have a history of playing really well, but their shows just never hit.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's been a couple that I'm not up on my history of the activity that have been good. Every group has had solid shows throughout the years, but they always play well. All the way back to 2010, 11, 12, like they play consistently pretty solid. They've got good talent. The battery notes, the arranging is good. They play.
Yeah, I think that they have a bunch of like experienced people there from like the cadets guys, people who are working not only marching cadets but are working cadets and stuff and influencing that, and they played well inside. I put that they would have beat Mystique if their show was literally about anything. But I was just watching it like...
So the show title is The Last Days of Night. So it kind of makes sense for the first half of it. But then they just end the show. They have these light posts, which are really cool props, by the way. They look really good. And they just like set them up in some kind of grid. And the whole last part of the show is just them marching and playing throughout them. And then they end loud and the show ends.
Yeah.
And even then, like, I just didn't get it. And that's been their Achilles heel forever. Their shows that's a group that if they would go the simple route and take a very simple concept and not try to tell a story. Don't try and tell a story. This is not theater.
No.
This is drums in a gym. Don't try and tell a story.
Drums in a gym.
Pick a theme. Pick an idea. And just run with it. And do everything you can think of to convey that simple, easily conveyed idea. I know that it's easier said than done, like most things in life. But I think that would be a group that would significantly see an improvement in their finishing at final in Dayton every year. If they would kind of nail down their show design a little more.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. Let's see here.
Their snare line's really good. I have to point that out.
Their snare line was really good.
They played really well on finals on Sunday.
I feel like their bass line was okay.
I think they're one of those groups like Atlanta Quest where they kind of hide the other sections a little bit.
But if you're gonna have a good section, you want it to be your snare line.
Well, because you can't hide a snare line.
No, you can't hide. You can't hide a bad snare line.
As Mystique is learning this year.
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a minute.
Although they're trying to hide it.
They are. They have way less. Like,
anyway, all right, here. Yeah. We got you.
They're next anyway. So
are they? All right, yeah. Cool.
But well, United. But the last note I have about them is their show. The second half is just a bunch of notes and drill with light poles set up.
Yeah.
And like I don't know if they just. Which
is fun to listen to, but you're like, I don't really know what's the point.
It's just cool.
Yeah.
Cool notes. They played it well. They got that pretty much sums it up.
I almost wish their show was about like Jedi and they could just use those poles as lightsabers. And then I'd be on board like, all right, sweet. Just got bumped up 2 places.
Yeah.
Anyway.
On to Mystique.
The Skeeters.
This is a down year for them in my opinion. Now, they could figure it out.
Well, I thought last year was a down year and they won, but...
Rhythm X has the pixie dust every year. They clean up like 20% more every finals week every year. Mystique could do the same thing. They could change stuff in the show. They could just figure it out. But, I mean, some of the things...
they're going to need to figure out is how to play together at the low end, because that did not happen.
No.
Not on Sunday. Quads played well, which is clearly their best section.
Yes, the quads...
of the battery, and they do like that really cool pit stuff where they do like split pit parts from like side A to side B or side B to
their
side
pit's
2.
insane. Look, Mystique's pit is insane every year,
and it's demanding. But I also put it's New Tribe meets Hand of Man meets Mantra or whatever.
It feels like it's like the same rehashing of a show they've done 4 times. So the show's called Disciples, and they're selling it like they always do. They're all dressed up, and they're selling
head to toe, man. They're into it,
and it's cool. But the first thing I wrote when the show started was, "Please do something different next year."
Man, like they're so good at what they do, and it's so good. Like
they're one of the top 5 groups every year for a reason. They achieve at a high level.
But dang, like it's just you watch it, and I get bored because this is the same. It's just the same.
They're putting themselves in a box, and. I don't know. So we mentioned before the snare line. I think it's a down year for it.
They were bad on Saturday. I don't know what you saw, but the end of their show, they just straight crapped out stuff. I was like, they want to have that run back, is what I said.
Yeah, I don't have memories of them being that bad, but I mean, their snare sound is always thin, and they always kind of play in a box. I hate to use that phrase again, but. They don't. It's very controlled. They don't play with the same aggression that a lot of other groups do, and as a result, and part of it is drum tuning. And they still march 13 inches.
I don't think so.
They marched 13-inch snare drums for a long time.
They used to, but I don't think they do.
All right. Well, either way, they sound thin. The snare sounds coming out is thin. The low end is not that clean. At least it wasn't that weekend. It could have been a bad weekend. Who knows? But I've seen them 3 times now, and I've not been super impressed by it. You can tell because usually Mystique features their snare line. They still do because you have to feature everything's got to be good to finish well at that top level of independent world. But
yeah, I mean, you can't just design where one section literally doesn't play by itself ever.
You're not gonna. It's not gonna work. But you can tell they might have toned down the amount they normally expose their snare drums this year.
Yeah.
The quad line was clearly the best section
because they featured them a ton. Which whatever. Yeah.
One plus for them, their books. I've always thought their books are never super difficult.
They're easy to read because they do a really good job of writing segmentally to where it's not scored too thick.
That's true.
So even if it's not super clean, like it's not, I guess, super dense, so you can still tell what's going on.
Yeah.
Like I can hear what you're trying to do. It's just not executed well. So that helps them. It's very exposed, so you better play clean, but...
Yeah. I'm giving them kudos this year.
Yeah.
Their book seems harder this year to me than it has in the past 3 or 4 years.
I could see that.
It seems like they're playing more notes.
I think they're doing more metric changes than they usually do.
Yeah, they've been known for getting in a hand speed and just
of the duple variety
and just going for a long time.
Well, that's what that Mantra show was. They were super clean in 2011.
I don't want to knock them. They deserved to win that year. They deserved that gold medal.
But I don't know if they played much more than Athos the whole show. If I sight read that, I'm fairly confident that I can sight read that.
Maybe not at tempo. Maybe a little under.
Maybe not now.
Whatever.
When I was marching, I definitely.
But yeah, I remember specifically that season. We talked a lot about how I was like, man, they're not playing anything, but they're playing really fast and they're doing it really well. So we can't hate on them too much.
Yeah, no.
Because there's a whole Rhythm X mystique. We always, I don't know.
It's a friendly rivalry, I guess.
Now it's a friendly rivalry.
Yeah, maybe not so much.
In the past, maybe not so much.
Maybe not so friendly in the past.
But I think we'll do our predictions for where we think how independent world's going to shake up once we're done with the Cali side of things. But yeah, I think I just want to see Mystique do something different.
Yeah.
I just want to see them go outside of their comfort zone.
If they came out next year and did like a happy show, I'd be like,
what?
Here we go. Let's do this. Let's see what you got.
Yeah. That's enough about that. Or beating a dead horse. Now, real quick, actually, we haven't talked about the bass line. Because I wrote down specifically, great bass feature.
I put bass feature, no.
So, I guess...
I mean, that could happen day to day.
Everybody has bad runs.
Everybody has bad runs, but yeah. So, that's just a difference of one show to the next.
I thought the bass feature was sick on Sunday.
Well,
it was really good.
Hopefully it was. Good for them then.
Yeah. All right. Rhythm X, 8-5-5. All the World's a Stage is the show title. We've talked about this quite a bit before.
And like you were talking about, like this show, like, yeah, it's based off of a Shakespearean monologue, but it's not a super abstract concept to where obviously all the world's a stage. You can play anywhere. You can do anything anywhere. There's no limits. They don't use a tarp, so obviously you're not confined to this
I'm super
square.
jealous of that, by the way.
Yeah, they don't have to lift that tarp. Good for you guys.
Don't have to get it on and off the floor.
I mean, they have those carts, and there's a lot of them, but still.
Pushing a cart is way easier than lifting a freaking tarp.
Yeah, imagine not having to carry up that ramp at UD.
Oh, jeez.
Awesome. But, man, they're good. They play so well. It's fun to watch. It's entertaining.
Yeah, there was some stuff I made note of that wasn't perfect on Sunday. Like the end of the opening snare solo, they kind of ripped the roll.
Yeah.
It ends with a crescendo triplet roll, and they ripped it. But that happens. Someone got a little excited. The full battery sound is just on a different level than Mystique's this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just warmer.
Yeah, it's more balanced. It's just very good quality coming out of the battery as a whole. There's a vibe feature where it's the bass line playing a 5 vibe feature in the middle of the floor.
Everybody's moving around, interchanging instruments.
It's really cool.
At one point, Ryan's playing vibes.
The center snare, Ryan Ellis
Everybody
puts his drum down,
playing stuff.
just throws down a crazy vibe solo for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, throws his drum back on, hops right back in.
Yeah. I think they are still obviously in classic Rhythm X fashion, morphing the end.
Yeah, they'll have some ending,
and there'll
for
be
finals
something
week
else
that we
that'll
haven't
change
seen.
too. So there's still some tweaking involved. The ending, not as polished as the
Criticism.
front end.
A criticism of the show as it is right now. I think they push that electric guitar too much.
You talking about volume wise, a little overbearing?
They're using it too much.
Oh, okay.
I think I could use a little less of it. I think it's really cool. The kid's obviously a phenomenal guitar player.
Yeah.
I think that moment where he's playing that, I think the solo is a little too long.
Okay. Wow.
That's just that could just be personal taste.
Preference? Yeah.
Personal preference.
It
just seems like I like what they're doing with it. It's something different. It's something different. It's cool. It's exciting. It's a really cool part. The show designed around it is really cool. I just think it might go on a little longer in my personal taste than it needs to.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on that little thing. But yeah, the show's just filled with energy. I don't want to beat a dead horse on them. We've talked about them a bunch in the past this season so far.
And I don't think either that it's us being homers to Rhythm X because we marched there, because I'll be the first one to say what things I didn't like.
Their show last year was bad.
Yeah, we didn't like last year.
They played pretty well.
We didn't like a couple of shows that we were in, so
I didn't like either one.
So
I actually like Stand By Me more than Enlightened now.
I did too.
Removed from it.
Oh yeah.
At the time when I was younger, because the snare line was better.
Well, yeah.
I liked Enlightened, but as a show, I think Stand By Me is
my favorite snare line was 2012 out of my 3 years of Rhythm X. But my favorite show
has to be Inspired.
Was Inspired.
Yeah,
but I like Stand By Me better than Enlightened.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to talk about that right now.
Yeah. But basically, I'm just saying I don't think it's us being. I mean, obviously we have a lot of friends there, but I don't think that's us being incredibly biased by saying that Rhythm X is just in another league from the groups that were there at that regional.
I thought it was very clear they were better in Mystique, though.
Yeah, for sure.
And the score showed that.
Yep.
I mean, they beat them both days, so.
Yeah.
All right. California.
West Coast?
California. So, the only groups that I watched from the West Coast Regional, I watched Chino Hills, Pulse, RCC, and Broken City were the 4 shows that I watched. You watched more than I did on Saturday. So I'll let you kind of direct this and bring up what you want to until we get to...
Hold on. I need to pull up the list because I didn't write notes down on these groups. At that point in the day, when the West Coast Regional was going on, obviously because of the time delay, I was not as intellectual with my watching, I guess. I was just sitting there.
You were burnt out, we'll put it that way.
I was burnt out from the day. So let me pull up this just to make sure that I don't skip anybody. Oh, that's the color guard on the WGI website. I do not want to look at that.
Hey man, Pride's taking it this year.
Are they?
I have no idea.
They probably will.
I have absolutely no idea.
Pride's always classic. All right, here. West Power Regional. All right, so Vessel... I watched them, didn't care for it.
What class is this?
Independent World, Dark Sky. I actually put them on mute because I was cooking. I was grilling. And then the first one I started to watch was like POW. Which
Are you saying POW?
Are you saying POW?
POW?
Are you saying POW? Anyway, they're good. It's just like, it's Pulse Light.
It's Diet Pulse.
Diet Pulse, yeah. Pulse Zero.
Zero sugar.
Zero sugar. But they're good. But how incredible is that to have a feeder program that's also a world class?
And they finish like 4 places below you every year.
Well, not 4, but they make finals.
They make finals every year, and they're your feeder group.
They're your feeder
that's
group,
absurd.
pretty much. But yeah, the bottom 3. I mean, just the same way we talked about the East Regional, the bottom 3, POW, Dark Sky, and Vessel, were like a clear separation from the top 3 of Broken City, Pulse, and RCC. So
let's just dive into. Let's do Pulse first.
There's not much. They weren't doing anything from a show design that I was like, oh, that's crazy.
Talking about Pulse,
like those bottom 3 groups. And then Dark Sky had a cool thing that they did with like some ramps and stuff where they used some vertical geographical change, I guess, in the environment. But that would bring us to 3rd place, which was RCC, which basically is now their chosen name.
Yeah, they're not really Riverside Community College anymore. Be interesting to find out if they're actually affiliated with them anymore. Because it used to be like a class.
I think now they're just more affiliated with Blue Devils than anything.
Blue Devils Inc.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so the first thing, RCC show's called Listen. I don't really know where to go.
They always do really abstract stuff.
Yes, they do. Every time.
Sometimes it's a hit, but most of the time for me it's just I don't know what this is about.
I don't know if I'm just not smart enough, but every time, because we've had friends that have marched RCC that we talked to when we were in X and stuff. I'm like, dude, what the heck's your show about?
And then they explain it, and I still don't understand.
And you're like, you're supposed to get that from watching a drums in a gym show?
Like, I don't want that one year, the paper aeroplane or something.
Yeah,
I was like, I have no clue. And they told me, some guy was like, oh, this is what it's about, and this means this, and this means that. I'm like, dude, that
the PTSD show, the war show, was really cool.
That one was my favorite.
Was that 12? That was
2012, yeah.
That's probably my favorite RCC show in the past 8 years.
The State of the Arts one was pretty self-explanatory too.
Yeah, I got that one. It was like
a pun.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, it was good.
I got that one. That was pretty cool. So the show's called Listen. First thing I'll point out, there's 7 snares this year.
So what's up?
I mean,
good for them for not taking too many, but also if you have 7, of course, I was gonna say if you have 7, you have to play immaculate. But basically, that's the standard of WGI now. If you want to win anyway,
exactly. If you want to medal, you've got to be near perfect.
Be clean.
Yeah, and they are. Snare line's really good. The System Blue drums are terrible.
They sound like crap. They sound so thin.
Like their snare line played their first note, and I went System Blue. Why would you? What? They're so bad.
I just didn't like the music either. Like I wasn't engaged musically. They move super well.
Yeah, it's all a bunch of BD guys.
The body is always great. It's always very fitting with the notes that they're playing, but
their quad line's nasty like always.
I wasn't quite as on board yet.
On Sunday they were really good.
I'm not sold. Not sold yet. The verdict's still up on the battery for me, actually. I like the pit more than the battery.
And, all right.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I don't know. I just was not sold.
Yeah.
I think they're dirty still.
I mean, most indoor groups are dirty. This is 3 weeks. This is a month before finals still.
They were more dirty than I thought they should be.
Fair enough. They have... I love the ending of their show. It's a big full battery. They have a singing voiceover.
Okay.
And it's a big full battery moment.
I was like, I don't remember.
The body is clean as all hell. They played their butts off. Like, the writing was great. The front to back arranging was great. Like, the end of their show engaged me. It was awesome. Nice. The end of RCC show, I think, is better than anyone's ending this year I've seen so far.
All right.
We'll see what X pulls out of their back pocket for finals week, like they always do for a new ending. But RCC's end of their show, it was pristine.
Yeah,
it was really cool, really entertaining. There's not much to say about them besides that. Drums sound like butt, but that's not their fault.
Yeah.
They play well, good quad line like usual. 7 snares, which was good to see. I don't think the show's got the legs. I think it's going to be a result of. Or wherever they finish is going to be a product of the show not having the legs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I could see
they're outplaying their show right now.
I can't really refute that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's just as simple as that when it comes to them this year. So let's do Pulse now.
Dude, I liked Pulse. I thought Pulse was going to win.
Really?
I thought they were going to win this regional. The show is... I don't know. They always seem to do fairly...
The show's called Guarded.
Stock shows, I
guess. They do.
They make sense almost like I would say like 90% of the time. If you watch a Pulse show, you'd be like, yeah, I get exactly what you're doing or what you're going for. And at least on Saturday when I watched, I thought that they played the best out of any of the groups there.
Their show was kind of boring to me. One thing I think is really cool, they have a string quartet.
Yeah, it's like the violins.
Yeah, they have a string quartet.
I don't know if you call it a quartet.
That's true. It might be a... Quartet might have to be a certain composition of string instruments.
Yeah, I'm not 100%.
There's 4 people playing like violin-type instruments.
Yeah. It's
I'm
a cool texture.
Yeah, it adds really cool stuff to the show. They use it really well. But overall, again, it's Pulse. Their trademark is super balanced, play very cleanly. Play very clean.
Play very clean, yeah. They don't make... what you see is what you get. Like, usually their show from the beginning of the year to the end of the year is just...
That's it.
It is it. And the performers are going to get super comfortable at it to where come finals week, they're gonna be consistent, and they go out there and they're confident, and they're gonna be like, yeah,
And
we're about
to
to play
me,
well.
though, because you just said their shows are usually pretty cut and dry, like here it is, that's what you get, what you see is what you get. The last thing I wrote on my notes here was, this is probably a very deep conceptual show that I'm just not getting. Now, that's also a fault of the show design, if you do that, and the audience member that's totally uninformed about it can't figure it out. I mean, I understand what guarded means, and I saw that at various points, but it just seemed bland. Like, it just kind of seemed like it was just there. It didn't have highs and lows. The show just kind of happened.
Yeah, and I would say sometimes, too, that happens just because of the lens that we're looking at it through, too. Because if you're a judge, I'm sure there's things you're going to pick up on if you're sitting there judging general effect music or general effect visual or whatever. There's certain things that you're looking for based upon what the sheet requires you to judge. So there may be things that you and I miss just because we're looking at it purely from an entertainment factor. Like, I'm judging this show based on every facet: visual, music, design. To where as a judge is like, all right, I'm looking for these specific things. So there may be things that we don't catch that are in there. But
did they get third on Sunday? Do you have the scores pulled up?
Yeah, they got second.
Okay, so they beat RCC?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
It was very close. From RCC in third up to Broken City in first, it was less than a point.
Okay, well, let's move on to Broken City. I was surprised they won. I think they have the best show.
They have the best vibe, I'll say, of a show. Like, when I watch it, I'm like, I'm into it. I'm like, yeah, this feels good. Like,
that's Mike Jackson. Yeah. Like, that's what he does. Like, he's all about feeling good when you're listening, like, in the pocket. Like, that's his thing. So, I guess I'm not surprised they won, because outside of finals, a good show is going to be worth more. Like, at finals, to win, you got to play clean. Yeah. Well, unless your show is like Touch and they didn't play clean. And they
played clean enough to win.
Exactly.
They pulled up Blue Coats 2016.
Yeah, that's the way to put it. So, Broken City has 10 snares this year. And based on what we saw on Saturday and Sunday, they should not have 10 snares.
Dude.
And that's not just our bias of preferring smaller snare lines on the indoor setting. That's just
my bias over wanting to hear clean notes.
Exactly. There's one risk they took in their show. Well, I guess their show is called Fall. When the snares first enter, they are in a straight line that spans the entire floor from edge to edge.
It's so hard.
And it wasn't good. And that's not even a fault of the players. Like, that listening environment, that playing environment is just brutal.
When we marched 10, I can't ever remember a time when we were in a straight line.
We weren't.
Like, ever. We were usually always in like a diamond
blobs,
or
arcs.
rows of 5 and 5 or an arc. It's just so hard to hear over that long of a physical space.
When you have 10 guys or guys and girls or people, the in players, if you're at a decent interval, are so far apart, there's sound delay.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're playing perfect, there's a sound delay.
And if you're just like they're that far apart and you're listening in front of all that, there's a sound delay of the person in the middle of the line getting to you from the person on the far ends.
Potentially, yeah.
This is what it is. I mean, I know sound travels probably a little bit faster than what your ears are probably, but still, like,
it's tough. They're
quite
taking
bold.
Some risks. And I think it was one of those things where, like, you know what? We're just going to go balls to the wall and go for it and take all these risks, and it's either going to pay off and we're going to win, or it's not. And we'll go back to the drawing board for next year.
And I mean, they've been a group that's kind of like a late bloomer a little bit. Like, they show up, and it takes them the entire duration of the season to max out what they've got. So maybe that'll happen this year again, and they'll show up finals week and just be like, we figured it out. It took us all season, but that's what we designed for. We designed a show that would take us all year, and it did. But I'll tell you, they are freaking dirty right now.
Yes.
Even, like, watching some of the videos of them in the lot, I was just like, man, these roughs are rough.
yeah, it's the way to. That's it. So like I said, I think they have the best show out of RCC and Pulse in them. If they don't clean up, RCC and Pulse are going to beat them in Dayton. If they clean up, I don't know who will win extra them. I think
if I had to pick between a clean X show and a clean Broken City show, I would probably pick X's show.
See, I don't know what I would do. I liked Broken City's show.
I liked it too, but at times too. At times there's also where I'm like, man, you guys are playing some hard stuff, but you're not playing frequently enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes they have some like long gaps where I'm like, Snareline hasn't played in like 4 minutes. At least that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
But
if they clean up, they'll beat RCC and Pulse, in my opinion. If they don't clean up, they're going to get beat by RCC and Pulse in Dayton. And then we'll see.
Yeah.
Good stuff, dirty, book's good, show's designed pretty well. So, let's do predictions.
You want to do Scholastic before you do predictions, or predictions before Scholastic?
Predictions before Scholastic.
All right. I guess we kind of already started because we did the clean X versus clean Broken City.
X is going to win. That's my call right now.
Yeah.
Mystique's going to get 5th.
I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna do X first, Broken City, Pulse, RCC, Mystique. Still up in the air with like 6. Maybe somebody else would beat Mystique. Mystique's pretty bad right now.
Matrix is not beating Mystique.
Maybe United.
United's not beating Mystique.
Their show just isn't great, but yeah. So somewhere in there, maybe Monarch. I haven't seen their show. They're kind of like a dark horse right now, so I don't know.
That's the one top 8 group from last year that I haven't seen yet this year because they're in Texas.
I saw like a YouTube video, but it was just like a warm-ups, and I was like, this is worthless. But yeah, maybe Monarch come out and just like stun some folks. Maybe like an Infinity, but I haven't seen them since early season, so
I don't see it happening. I think Mystique's in 5th. The Cali groups are 4-3-2, and then X wins.
Yeah.
Or I think Broken City could beat X if they get really clean. Based on what I saw.
Anything is possible, but
based on what I saw at this regional, they're not going to get clean enough by Dayton.
The season closes fast.
It does.
Time is running out.
But if they do it, I think Broken City has a shot to win the gold medal this year.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, but it's always a possibility. Like, the show is good enough to do it.
And then the middle of the pack, you got like
United's going to finish well because they play really well.
United, Monarch, Matrix. Dude, Matrix might have a rough finish. If they haven't gotten much cleaner since the Indy, which we haven't seen anything, but
that's been a while. That was like over a month ago. It's been a while. That was over a month ago, so a lot of time has passed. I don't want to put them in a box yet, but
Infinity and all those groups and Strike, who knows where they're at? I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see.
Pulse Open or POW. Sorry, it's not Pulse Open, but POW.
How many groups are make finals? 12? Is it like DCI?
I think it's 14. Actually. 14.
Okay.
I think they do 7 and 7, 7 bottom, 7 top, but I'm not 100% on that. But yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be really, really close.
It's gonna be good. Yeah, our plan is we're gonna miss quarters on Thursday because we both have jobs. We're gonna leave and go up to Dayton
Thursday night.
We're gonna be inside to watch everything Friday. And then we're gonna be outside watching warm-ups.
How many groups make semis? Oh my gosh, that's a lot of band.
We might not go in at the very beginning.
We'll do some lot or something.
We'll figure that out. But then all day Saturday we're gonna be outside hanging out. So if you see us, come say hi, see what's up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Chino Hills.
Let's talk about Scholastic. Let's
talk about Chino Hills.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to talk about two other Scholastic groups.
Okay.
And so third place at that regional in Scholastic World was Ayala. Now, Ayala's been like some crazy. They always do stuff that's pretty out there, kind of like a middle finger to like, we're not going to do shows that you like just because we want you to like them type thing. But man, their show was crazy. They had all those chairs on the floor. Did you watch it?
Whose?
Ayala.
No, I didn't.
They had all those chairs on the floor. They're like moving them around, like super well coordinated, super creative. But dang, they were dirty. I muted it. I straight up muted it. I was like,
really?
This is terrible. And I texted my friend, and obviously, like, terrible is relative because they're probably still one of like the top high school drum ones in the country. But I would say for them, I was like, there's no way they're even coming close to Chino because it was so dirty. And I texted my friend out there. I was like, dude, Ayala's dirty. It's unbearable. He's like, Man, they probably spend so much time trying to reset all these chairs, it takes up half their rehearsal time. And I was like, for real. And then Arcadia was second, and they were, I think, clearly better than Ayala. And then it was Chino Hills. And the gap from second to first between any other group in Chino Hills could not have been big enough, in my opinion. Oh my gosh. I watched that on Saturday, and I was just sitting there like, this is the cleanest thing I've ever heard, like, from a high school. And we're like a month out.
They're going to win Scholastic World probably by multiple points.
They should.
Unless Dartmouth comes out just like completely out of nowhere. And I haven't seen them, which is why I'm not going to say Chino's going to win. But
I'm going to say they're going to win.
Chino is probably going to win.
They're going to win. I'm just going to chalk it up.
Just go for it.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I still stand by my statement I made. I don't know if it's the last podcast or one before that. They'll be the cleanest thing I hear at finals. They'll be the cleanest group out of anything.
That might be true.
Dude, it's filthy. It's filthy.
It's mind-blowing. Just to give you an idea, I've mentioned a couple times I have a bunch of notes from what I watched. So the show's called Seek and You Shall Find. Show's designed well, makes sense the whole way through. Easy to read.
Simple.
All I have written down is, how is this good? So many good roughs. I have no words for what I just witnessed. That's all I wrote down. If you haven't seen videos of them, do yourself a favor. Go on YouTube, somewhere, Instagram, whatever. Find it. It is mind-blowing how a high school is this good.
Yeah, I am literally going to look it up right now because there's this one video that I saw the other day.
Yeah, we'll play it. All
right, yeah, it's a snare break. All right. Hopefully YouTube doesn't pop up and give me like a stupid YouTube ad, which it probably will, but I'm going to have to turn my volume back up here. All right, so this is like somebody literally sitting like 2 feet in front of the snare line. So it's just as raw as you can get. There's no like pit in between the battery or whatever, but it's a snare break. Dude, it's like, get out of here. And okay,
hey man, there was one bad flam in there.
There's a couple like
it was a grace note.
There's a couple like little small fuzzies. But that's a month out. And I saw like
they're
John
playing
Mapes.
Stuff just as hard as any of the world groups.
Yeah, and John Mapes on his Instagram or Chino Hill's Percussion Instagram, one of the two that I saw. I was like, spring break day 1 rehearsal, like rehearsing straight through spring break. Like they're gonna be filthy, and they're gonna be so consistent. And it's not even going to be funny. I'm just going to sit there and giggle like a little kid.
If John, if you listen to this, can we have a front row seat to your all's finals lot warm up?
Just put me up there. Like, I'll hang out and watch and just, like, laugh at these little high school kids just absolutely throwing down in my face. And I'll give it up, and I don't even care.
Yep.
Dude, that stuff is more exciting to me than anything. Like, those kids have bought in. The instructors have bought in. The tech staff has bought in. And the standard of excellence is just through the roof. John and Ian and all the stuff that they do there, it's unbelievable.
Yep.
They should just bump to Independent World. Dude, they'd make finals. They'd probably finish top 10.
Maybe.
They'd probably win hands. I don't know. No, maybe that's
probably
not. A little far fetched. But they'd probably play cleaner than most of the people there.
You got to also preface they only have 5 snares.
Yeah.
But it's still impressive.
Still 5 snares.
It's still impressive.
They end with 7 snares.
That's true. They end their show where other kids pick up 2 more snare drums, another quad, and like 2 more bass drums or something. Or
They end 7 snares, 5 quads, and 7 bass drums.
Yeah.
So they're basically the same size as RCC. For a minute of the show.
Their drums sound better.
Their drums sound way better.
But, all right. I think
the prediction for Scholastic World is pretty cut and dry. It's Chino's to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So.
All right, let's close this bad boy out. I think we've rambled enough and kind of
giving our 2 cents on kind of where we stand and what we think's going down.
Yeah. So I'll reiterate. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow, like, Facebook, Instagram. It's all
hit us up.
It's all Aged Out Podcast. If you have questions, leave them in the comments.
Or send us messages on
whatever
YouTube.
you want to do.
Instagram,
yeah.
Facebook.
That's all I got.
That's
got anything else?
Nah, man. Well, I guess we'll see everybody here in a few weeks again, or a couple weeks, something like that. 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, finals are 2 weeks away from the recording of this, so
whenever we get
we'll go to finals. We're going to record this, like, as soon as we get back.
Try to get up with some people while we're at finals.
Yeah, we're going to have some guests. We've already reached out to a few people. I'm not going to name names in case we don't end up getting to meet up with them.
Yeah.
But, yeah, look for the finals recap. I'm going to get it up as soon as I can after we record it on Sunday, probably in the middle of the week by some point. So be on the lookout for that, and we'll see everybody then.
Peace.